Hi, I'm Kelly Chase and this is History Detective, and today I want to introduce you to the man who is on the $50 note, known as Australia's Leonardo da Vinci, David Unaipon. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this video is being recorded today. I pay my respects to the elders and knowledge holders, past, present and emerging. In 1872, David Unaipon was born on the Port Maclean mission in South Australia. A mission is a place where Christian people teach non-Christian people about Christianity and, of course, try and convert them. I should say that Unaipon was not his actual family name. His father anglicised their surname from Unaiponi to make it easier for white people to pronounce. David's father was the mission's first Aboriginal convert, and David attended the mission school from the age of 7 until he was 13. And you know why he left school? Because in 1885, as a 13-year-old, he was set to become a servant to a white family in Adelaide. Seriously. To his good fortune, the family that he worked for fostered his love of learning, and they encouraged him to study philosophy, literature, science and music. He returned to the mission at the age of 18 and learnt bootmaking and became the mission organ player. But he was a little frustrated with the lack of job opportunities for educated Aboriginal men on the missions and returned to Adelaide and took up a job as a storeman for a bootmaker. All this time, David continued to devour books, and he especially liked scientific works. He also began to study mechanics and started to conduct experiments in things like perpetual motion, ballistics, and polarized light. I mentioned earlier that he was known as Australia's Leonardo da Vinci. That's because of his prolific talent for inventing. In his lifetime, he patented 19 inventions. He even predicted the invention of the helicopter. In a 1914 article in The Sun titled Black Genius, Unaipon is quoted as saying an aeroplane can be manufactured that will rise straight up into the air from the ground by the application of the boomerang principle. The boomerang is shaped to rise in the air according to the velocity with which it is propelled, and so can an aeroplane. This class of flying machine can be carried on board a ship, the immense advantages of which are obvious. But the thing that made him famous, there used to be a picture of it on the old $50 note, but it has disappeared from this version, was the invention of the sheep shears. Now, before I get into the design of the sheep shears, it's important to know just how important sheep were to Australia's colonial economy. Early colonists realised Australia's climate was ideal for creating fine quality wool. In just 4 decades after the introduction of the first merino sheep, Australia had become the world's biggest producer of wool. Sheep still play a huge part in Australia's agricultural economy. This is why David Unaipon's invention of the sheep shears was so important that they were featured on the 1995 version of the $50 note. This style of shears is still the design for mechanical sheep shears today. Unfortunately, he only made a provisional patent, and he was never able to receive any financial reward for this brilliant invention. David Unaipon was also known for being the first Aboriginal writer published in newspapers. He became a spokesperson for all things Aboriginal. In a time that was steeped in bogus racial hierarchy theories such as social Darwinism, he would often give speeches or write about the rights of Aboriginal people. On his travels around Australia, he met with many First Nations people and compiled a book of Aboriginal myths and legends. He almost had a book deal with Angus and Robinson, and then unfortunately, an anthropologist called William Ramsay Smith bought the rights to the book and published it under his own name, giving no credit to David Unaipon. Plagiarism isn't the only stealing that William Ramsay Smith did. In my video about Mungo Man and the ethics of archaeology, I mentioned that Dr. Ramsay Smith also stole Aboriginal human remains by way of grave robbery. There's a link to the Mungo Man video up there. On this current version of the $50 note, there is some teeny tiny writing called microtext. This is a security feature to make it more difficult to counterfeit the note. The text includes excerpts from his writings, and the very top quote reads, "As a full-blooded member of my race, I think I may claim to be the first, but I hope not the last, to produce an enduring record of our customs, beliefs, and imaginings." In 1953, when he was 80 years old, he received a coronation medal, which was awarded in celebration of Queen Elizabeth II ascending to the throne. David Unaipon spent his later years back on the Port Maclean mission, where he began his life. He spent his days continuing to work on his inventions and trying to discover the secret of perpetual motion. He died in the same year as the 1967 referendum and lived to a grand old age of 95. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and in the description below you'll find a link to my website where you'll find teaching resources and links to references. And on another note, I have just released my first book, History, Her Story, Our Story, Inspirational Women Who Shaped Our World. You should grab a copy. You'll find a link in the description below as well. This is Kelly Chase on The Case.